I think that criminals, sophisticated criminals that are using trade-based money laundering or cash swapping or netting between regulated entities in different countries and things like this have no interest in swapping to a volatile medium of exchange to endanger their core business. I think that money laundering does exist within crypto, but I don't think that people that have incredibly sophisticated black market peso exchange or inflated invoicing on shell company schemes are interested at all. They've been functioning in this way for decades. And realistically, for example, with like Chinese capital flight, they're using regulated shell Forex companies and netting using in-country deposits and then paying money out in the UK. No money actually ever leaves China. I don't really think those people are moving to Bitcoin, and I'm aware that that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people want to think that there's crazy amounts of money laundering in Bitcoin, but I disagree.
If you were going to launder money, would you want all of your money laundering transactions to be on a permanent, immutable ledger? Maybe, but not me.
Yeah, so I'm Steve Scott. I'm a 22-year recently retired RCMP money laundering investigator. And I agree totally with Ryan. When you look at money laundering in the criminal realm, you kind of look at it as an international deal, which we're talking trade-based and so on, domestic, municipal, and so on. So the bottom line of drug dealing, say if that generates the most wealth other than frauds online and then crypto frauds and so on, drug dealing generates cash. It'll always generate cash. Because, you know, a gram of pot, call me dated, gram of coke is $80. It's $80 crack. It's $80 in $20 bills, and the ounce is going to be $1,000 in $20 bills, and the kilo is going to be $40,000 in $20 bills because they keep paying up the line. So at the municipal, domestic level, it's still very much cash-based. Drug dealing, money laundering, criminality is based on fear and trust. So you work with people you trust, criminal to criminal, that they're going to give you the right amount of money, and in turn, an X measured amount of drugs back. The fear side of it is if you don't, you shortchange someone and you give them a cheaper product, you're going to die. So cash is still king at that level. They don't trust Bitcoin. They don't trust none of that other than face-to-face dealing. So at that level, they just work harder now to smurf. They work harder to use beneficial owners, nominees. They are refining their $20 bills into 50s and 100s. We had a wiretap on a fellow a few years ago, and he demanded reds and browns, 50s and 100s. So his downliners are going to the banks and they're exchanging a couple $1,000 at the companies and 20s into 100s and 50s, because that's what he'll put in the bank on behalf of his front business, which is a toll company, but he's just commingling his funds. So they're really still using the same old techniques. They're just working a little bit harder at the municipal level. Yeah, internationally, there is no reason to change. There are billions, as you guys know better than me, floating around the world through corrupt individuals, fight capital. Despite being members of the FATF, some 192 countries I've been working in Africa, people as investigators don't know what their financial intelligence unit is. People exchanging money on the street for tens of thousands of dollars don't care. So they may be compliant internationally, they may get a decent evaluation, but that's your own due diligence, what you have to do from country to country for that matter. So cash is still king in that world, and for the most part, car dealerships, and just to go on a little bit longer, will still accept cash until they become a reporting entity. What we used to tell them is it's a risk. So you want to take $50,000 in cash. Let's just say this guy doesn't have friends that are going to come by in 3 hours and I'll rob you. Who's going to take that money to the bank? Who's going to deposit it? We use security companies for that most of the time. Are you just going to send your finance manager to the bank with a bag load of $100,000? It's a risk. Those are the selling features. Or this is why we tell them not to. Real estate, yeah, it's international.
Well, I think it's really funny too that after all those billions in money laundering and that report came out, Vancouver was like, well, what about BTNs? We might issue a citywide ban on BTNs, right? Like misdirection.
So yeah, it's I don't think they're really looking at it the right way, despite you guy, the German former officer in charge of an investigation. He never actually did an investigation, but I'll save that for another day. I'm an in the weeds guy, so it is much more in the weeds and the nuances of how these guys launder than it is just talking about generalities. And that's why this is so interesting. That's why I'm here to learn about this, mind you. So I'll keep this back. September.